Good morning and welcome everyone to the HUL session 2. So in today's session, we will be talking about the R&D role of
Good morning
HUL.
and welcome everyone.
To the HUL session. And we have Satyam Saxena with us, who is an IIT-BHU alumni as well as a HUL R&D Management Trainee. So he will be talking about his experience during the internship season as well as how he is the role. So, Satyam, you can start.
Okay, yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, it's fine.
Okay. Thanks, Ayush. Good morning, everyone. I'm Satyam Saxena, and I'm a 2021 chemical engineering undergraduate from IIT-BHU, Varanasi. And actually, this is my first interaction with people from BITS, any campus for that matter. So, yeah, it's great to be talking to all of you today. Basically, today I have been called to give you a sense of how HUL R&D operates and basically how you can prepare for that internship. That is the Unilever Leadership Internship Program, ULIP. So I guess you guys must be presently third year incoming students. So you will be actually sitting for these internships, the process for this shortly, and the internship will begin next year, that is in 2022. So instead of keeping this as a monologue, I think that I'll just basically first run you through the experiences that I had for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then we can open up for a Q&A session where you guys can have a better shot at asking the questions that you want to ask. And if you have any queries, then I'll be happy to answer those. Also, like, this won't be a very comprehensive overview of exactly what the process is, because those things will be dealt by the placement team from HUL. So they'll be having a pre-placement talk for you shortly, I guess, in the next couple of weeks. So that will give you a bigger sense of what exactly the process will be and how you can actually go through the steps that they have planned. But this will be more of like a personal interaction with someone who has gone through this process a couple of years ago, right? So I'll start at the very beginning. In the second year, we were actually looking for internships off campus, because in our college, at least, we only have this campus internship session uh, at the beginning of the third year, and the internships will be at the end of third year. So after my second year ended, I went for a research internship in Taiwan. So basically, it was through the Taiwan Education Exchange Program. Some of you might be aware about it. And that was a research internship, a very academic based research internship in Taiwan. So it was in the Department of Chemistry. So a bit away from the chemical engineering that I was majoring in, but still um, broadly related to the fields that I was passionate about. So that internship basically was my foray into the research world. Prior to that, I had done a couple of research projects at IIT-BHU as well, but it was my first opportunity to undergo research in a different institute other than my own, right? So after I came back from Taiwan, basically the internship process started, and I was not very sure whether HUL or in fact like a corporate research internship will be the right fit for me or not. But at least I had some clarity in my mind that I do not wish to sit for any of the software development or data analysis internships that were also being offered in the campus at that time. And so I thought that, yeah, right now, research and development seemed to be the best fit for me, given my interest and also the fact that I had a decent amount of projects and internships that I could support my candidature with, right? So, yeah, so HUL, as you know, is like not one of India's biggest FMCGs, rather India's biggest FMCG. So, 9 out of 10 Indian households use HUL products in some way or the other. Okay, let's take a step back, and I think I will just also introduce the company a bit to those of you who are not aware about it as such, because like I've been in your shoes, and at this point of time, even I wasn't very aware of the scale at which HUL is operating. So, like as I mentioned, India's biggest FMCG company. So FMCG stands for fast moving consumer goods, and these are basically all goods such as soaps, detergents, and your hand washes and food products such as ice creams, jams, spreads, and also like your shampoos, conditioners, all those things. So all these things are some of the products which HUL manufactures under the wide variety of brands at its own. So all of these big brands that you have heard and probably even used in your daily life, such as Surf Excel, Lifebuoy, and Axe and Sunsilk, Tresemme, Kisan, Dove, all these are brands that HUL owns and operates. And so basically, if you are looking into an R&D role at HUL, you will be directly working on the products that these brands offer. So it can be in the beauty and personal care division where you might be working on skin cleansing or, like moisturizers or Vaseline or something like that. Or you could be a part of the food and refreshments team where you will be working with Quality Walls and Kisan and so all these food-based products, or you could even be a part of home care division where you could be working with like detergents and fabric conditioners, powders, liquids, all those things. So it's a bit different, not a bit, I would say, like a significant bit of difference from what you might have prior experience in, such as the lab-based projects that you might have worked on. So I'm assuming that given the fact that most of the people here are from chemical and mechanical, I think. So you guys must have done some projects or the other in your college in which you have like lab-based experiments. So imagine that, but you're designing stuff that is not limited to a single research paper, but it's designing products that are being used by millions of people across the country, right? So that is like a broad sense of what you'll be doing at Unilever if you're selected for this internship. And I'll be coming back to this shortly. So now I think I'll just share briefly about how this process is, the selection for the interns, right? So to begin with, the company will hold a pre-placement talk for you in a couple of weeks or so. And in that pre-placement talk, they will basically run you through the entire process that they've planned for you. So I'll be sharing the process that I went through back in 2019. And keep in mind that this process was during the pre-COVID era. So we did not have all these virtual internships that you guys are currently facing. Ours was a completely in-person experience. And we basically had to go through three broad stages. And based on that, our selection was confirmed. So the first step was a form in which like you once you have filled your willingnness for the company, they'll send you a form via email, and that is where you in fact have to opt for whether you are setting for the supply chain profile or the R&D profile. And after that, you have to answer a very wide variety of questions such as your academic achievements, your extracurriculars, your co-curriculars, your leadership experiences, your PORs, your prior internships, your prior research projects. All those things you have to fill in, and that is basically a sort of a filtering process where they get to know you a bit better. And on that basis, they'll shortlist a selected pool of candidates who will be eligible for the next rounds. So keep in mind that these steps are not part of a like a cumulative thing. So the fact that you are eliminated after the first round is straight away. So like it won't be that your candidature in the second or third round will be judged on the basis of your previous rounds as well. It's just that if you are performing badly in this step, then you will be straight away eliminated. This is similar to, in fact, most of the companies that appear for internships and placements. So, like a significant chunk of the people who will be appearing for this company will be rejected straight away after the form. And many people think that this form is like just sort of a formality that they need to fill in, and it won't be that big of a contributor to their success. But speaking from personal experience, I can tell you that please do not think that this is like non-essential part. It is one of the most essential parts, and in fact, many of the people in my college, my batchmates who were very eligible candidates for this role, they were rejected straight away just because they had not given enough thought and care into filling this application, thinking it was a very frivolous activity. So basically, you need to fill this with like absolute diligence and dedication, right? So don't think that this is a very initial stages thing. And once you have made it past the form filling stage, Then in our time, what we used to have, we had a group discussion on the day of the placement activities. So we had a group discussion in which 6 to 8 people were there. 6 to 8 people were there in a group, and in that particular group, we were given a particular case study related to the FMCG industry. Not exactly just FMCG, but anything related to products and technology, research and development, anything. So in that particular group discussion, we basically had to answer a set of questions that formed a questionnaire, and based on our responses, we were then selected. So I won't spend a lot of time on this because, as I've been seeing since last year, because of the pandemic, they have moved away from this format and instead they have shifted to in only a single person case study kind of a thing. So I think they have a portal in which you will be given a questionnaire on the spot and a case study along with that. So you have to go through the case study in about 5 to 10 minutes, and then there'll be a set of questions that you have to answer on the spot, and you have to record yourself while doing that. So you won't be given a lot of time to prepare for it. It will be an on the spot, basically a test of your thinking ability, your critical thinking skills, all those analysis based skills that they need to judge. I won't be able to share a lot of personal experiences about this in this single person case study because, as I said, I have not gone through this. I was, and in fact, tested on a group discussion thing. So, still, like broadly, you can expect something related to the FMCG world. So I'll just share my personal case study that I was given in the group discussion. So it was a fictional water purification company that was currently operating in a couple of geographic regions, such as United States and all. It was based in the United States, and we basically had to draw up plans for expanding into different countries. And we were given a set of guidelines that okay, this country, if you want to expand into, it will give you this set of challenges and these are the potential opportunities that you might have over there, and this other country has this set of challenges and this set of pros for it. So basically, as a group, we had to collectively come up with a strategy of expanding into a different country, and that was basically where our skills of decision making and all were tested. And it had a little bit of connection with R&D as well, because some amount of scientific data was also provided to us in this case study about the water purification process. And you can get a sense of how this might relate to the R&D side of things, right? Because as chemical engineers, you must have gone through some courses on pollution, water hardness, maybe like these might have been part of your courses. So you could relate those concepts and bring it to the business side of things. And that was basically the connection to R&D. So again, after this round was completed, a large amount of proning was done, and basically, I think uh, after the first round, that is the form, only about 24 students were selected for the group discussion. And after the group discussion was over, I think no more than about 6 to 7 people remained. I am a bit hazy on the details of the numbers, but broadly you can expect same figures in your college as well. So after the group discussion or the personal case study in your case, expect about 6 to 7 people to remain. And after this, you will have a set of interviews that will be obviously on Zoom or Teams or whatever platform they are using currently. And in those interviews, we had 2 rounds of interviews for us. I'm not sure how many you guys might have, but expect about 3 rounds at max. And for my experience, I can say that the first interview is mostly a technical one. So it's basically designed to test all of those things which you have written on your CV. So you'll be sharing your CV with the company before you start all these things, right? So they have a set of information about you, and basically they can ask you anything and everything that you mentioned on the CV. So the CV is basically your living concept of what you are and like what all you have achieved till now. So make sure that you are not writing anything on your CV that might backfire for you in the future, right? So it's a common practice for people our age to flaunt like heads off in their CV. So yeah, I know this skill as well. I know Python as well. I know Java as well. I know machine learning. I'm very proficient in this, but they'll want to know that what have you done in your life that gives you the liberty to write this in your CV. So in my case, I hadn't dabbled with any of these, such as machine learning, data science, or anything. So my CV was mostly a research-based CV, which was, I think, suitable as well for the research and development role. And my questions were primarily centered around these only, so such as my internship and my prior projects. So they'll begin with the general questions such as tell me something about yourself, where you can share anything and everything that you think will enable them to get to know you a little bit better, right? So where are you from, which branch are you from, and like what have been your experiences so far, and anything else that you might want to share with them. So after that, they'll move on to your experiences that you are listing in your CV. So in my case, it was my Taiwan internship, and that formed a big chunk of the discussion that they had with me. So basically, they asked every little bit of the project, what all I had initially set out to do, how I did what I had set out to do, and what all I could achieve after completing my internship. And they'll bring out parts of the internship that you might not have even given a lot of thought to, and you might have thought that, okay, this was a trivial part of the process. For example, the simplest of things, such as if you're manufacturing a new compound, say, you will be using some solvents, right? So any solvent that you, in my case, this was the situation. So I had not given a lot of thought about which solvent I was using, and as per my instructions in the internship, I had accepted that, okay, this is the solvent that these guys are using, and they must have figured it out why they need to use it. But these guys in HUL, they like quizzed me on that as well, like what properties of the solvent were suitable for your needs and all. And so basically, just give a lot of thought into your past projects and internships and do a bit of background study about it, because that will set the context for them and that will enable them to ask the most amount of questions. After they have completely exhausted your mental capacity with your internships and projects, they will move on to your core chemical concepts. And again, this won't be a very comprehensive or like a very technical, deep technical thing. It will be mostly a conceptual thing where you will be asked about the broad subjects that you have studied so far. So I'm not really sure about the mechanical engineers or the manufacturing engineers, but as a chemical engineer, the major subjects that form our curriculum are heat transfer, mass transfer, and process engineering and CRE, reaction engineering, all those things. So these will be the broad topics that they'll ask conceptual questions on. They'll not give you a numerical to solve on the spot. In fact, like in the entire selection process, you do not have any sort of a written test that many other core companies have, right? So it's basically designed to test your speaking skills, your understanding of core chemical knowledge, and your management leadership skills as well. So, if you've gone through the internship name, it's called the Unilever Leadership Internship Program. So that second word, leadership, that also has a very significant bearing. So they'll also try to gauge how much of a leadership graduate you're becoming, not just a chemical engineering graduate, right? So that's something that you also should try to focus on. And in fact, that's something that you should also try to put across to them. So obviously, our CVs can only tell so much about yourself, right? And it rests on us to basically tell them what all we have accomplished. That might not be straight away evident from your CV. So yeah, so as I was saying that you will be tested a bit on the core chemical knowledge as well. So again, like fluid mechanics, heat transfer, mass transfer, all those things, just brush up your concepts a little bit. The overall like books in which you can get a comprehensive understanding, such as McGill Smith and Coulson Richardson for chemical engineering undergraduates. Sorry for the others, I do not have a lot of knowledge about your disciplines, but at least for chemical engineers, I can say that these subjects should get you through this part of the interview at least. And they'll also basically they might end up asking that, okay, which all subjects you have studied till now, because obviously you have only had 2 years of education so far in the college, and you still have a lot of courses left which you have not studied yet. So if they end up asking you a question which you have not studied about till now in your curriculum, then I guess you can just inform them that this will be a course that will be studying in, say, the third or the fourth year. So they'll then mold the questions accordingly. So Don't worry that you are not very proficient about all the subjects in chemical engineering so far, and that will be taken care of by them. So you can just put your point across. Also, one thing that I would just like to point out is that all these experiences they are sharing, they are very subjective. So, given the fact that I was interviewed by only two people out of a company of thousands of people, your interviewer might be very different from mine and may have different levels of flexibility. So, just take my advice with a bit with a pinch of salt. So, don't accept this as the only source of truth, and just prepare as well as you can. So, not just limited to the broad concepts. If you have the time and if you have the patience to basically go through them in detail and depth, then by all means do so. It will only help you out. And so this basically takes care of the first interview that I had. And as I said, we had around six people appearing for the first interview. And out of those, only three people in R&D were eligible to sit for the second interview. And that second interview for us also happened virtually. So one of HUL's senior executives from Mumbai, she was taking my interview over a Skype call. So that interview can be clubbed into the category of what we generally call an HR interview, but not just an HR interview, because the person on the other end was not part of the HR team. She was basically a senior management professional, and so she had experiences in R&D as well as overseeing a set of people as a leader. So that interview was a blend of technical as well as HR. So again, she asked me questions about my projects, my experiences so far, and I again had to like reiterate through all the projects that I had done, all the internships that I had in my bag till then. And after I had gone through that set of questions about my interview, about my experiences so far, she basically moved on towards the second leg of the interview, which was more of an what we generally call an HR round, such as why do you wish to work for HUL and why do you think that you are the right fit for the company, and also some other critical thinking and general awareness questions such as what do you think is the biggest disruptor in the FMCG industry in these days, or you can say like how do you see FMCG industries or HUL um, adapting to the new set of technologies that are coming in the upcoming years, right? So all those kinds of questions, which generally do not have a lot to do with your chemical engineering, but your general sense of awareness as an individual and as a 20 something year old in college, right? So not just basically academics, but your overview of the world, your ability to perform well in a business situation, because you might have experiences of research so far in your labs and all, but that is a very different world from what we actually end up applying in companies such as HUL or PNG or any of these FMCGs, right? Because they have a business to operate. So academic research is not that hell bent on saving costs and all. So if even if you have like a very expensive compound that will give you good results, you can use that in an academic setting for the sake of having a new publication or doing something that no one else in this world has done. But when you're operating in a company such as HUL that has profits to take care of, and like thousands of stakeholders whose livelihoods depend on you, then you can't take decisions on just the basis of results. You have to make sure that whatever decisions you're taking makes sense economically, socially. Your decisions should be cohesive with the framework that HUL has in place. And basically, any company which is operating at the size of HUL will need to consider. So that part of the interview is basically designed to test whether you are able to think along those lines at, at your age. So they won't be expecting obviously any such thing which they are not expecting from a 20-year-old to answer. So basically, you will be expected to answer as well as you can, given the fact that you are currently in college in your third year. So after this, our internship process was complete, and I was the only one selected from my institute in that year across both disciplines, supply chain and R&D. And apart from me, there were like about 5 to 6 other people as well from all over India who were part of the R&D cohort of interns for that year. So, like as you can see, it's a very competitive landscape for HUL R&D, and the number of selections that you might end up having for HUL will be lesser than the number of people that are hired by big name companies, such as like Google, Microsoft, and all those things that people generally aspire to go in. So the process is actually even more competitive than those companies, and you have to be the best of the best in your particular discipline to make through all these rounds. And that basically takes care of the internship process. I'm also conscious of the time, so I'll just like spend the next 5 minutes giving you a sense of what I did in my internship and how it basically converted into this particular PPO that I received. So my internship started virtually because of the corona pandemic last year. So our internship was actually preponed a bit. So instead of starting in July, it actually began in April. But this year, I believe you guys will not be experiencing those things because things have like ironed out for you guys. So hopefully, like you might even end up getting a chance to visit the facilities and the offices in Mumbai or Bangalore. So HUL R&D in fact works from three places in India. First is Mumbai, which is the head office all over India, and also there's Bangalore R&D. And recently, last year, they acquired GSK, GlaxoSmithKline. So as part of that acquisition, they recently have also become owners of the brands such as Horlicks and Boost. So that is the nutrition, health, food, drinks business that is being operated out of Gurgaon. So that has added a third R&D site for HUL as well. So if you get the chance to visit in person, then you'll probably end up working in one of these three cities, Gurgaon, Bombay, and Bangalore. And for us, at least, this internship was completely virtual. So my internship was part of the digital R&D team. So digital R&D basically is a very unique world in the sense that it is not exactly a part of the chemical engineering or mechanical engineering domains. So, in fact, in the entire duration of my internship, not a single concept of chemical engineering was tested. It was basically trying to understand and adapt the modern age technologies such as big data, machine learning, analytics, and consumer insights and all those things, and how we can leverage those to make HUL a better business. So it wasn't a very chemical engineering intensive internship for me. But again, this I was an outlier in this context because I was the only intern in the digital R&D team. And in fact, all of the interns that will be selected pan India, they'll be allotted different teams, and all of the others they were working in a brand facing roles. So, for example, some of my colleagues were working with the Lifebuoy team or the Surf Excel team, or even the brew coffee team. So those people had jobs which had more relevance to the chemical engineering side of things. So, for example, you could be working on making better foaming detergent, or you could be working on enhancing the flavors of the tea or the coffee business, or how you can optimize these industries to make better cost savings or deliver bigger benefits to the customers. So, all those things. My role was a bit more focused towards the data side of things, and I was working primarily in a non-brand facing role. So my internship experience won't be a very accurate description of what you might actually end up doing. But given the fact that HUL as a company is one which does not, work as a you say a government company that is not very keen on looking at the future. So it's basically very on its toes always. So all these new technologies that are emerging that HUL as a company and in fact any company will need to adopt for its growth. HUL is also looking forward to them, and I was part of the team that is looking to basically adapt these technologies into the R&D work stream. So that was my internship, and on the basis of the performances of our interns and also the interviews that we had to face after the internships were complete, we a couple of us were offered a pre-placement offer in HUL. And as of July 2021, so last month, we have started a work as a management trainee at HUL R&D. So currently, I am a part of the Lifebuoy skin cleansing team, and I'm also working with the sustainability goals in mind. So basically, if you visit Unilever site, you can have a look at the Unilever Sustainable Living Program. So one of the key goals of the company is to become a sustainable and a profitable business. So sustainability is like a very integral part of all things that Unilever does. So that's also one of the reasons that I wanted to join this company, because as an individual, I am very, passionate about sustainability and a renewable energy future. So HUL as a company was working on these things, and I thought that this might be the right fit for me as well, and that's why I was interested in working for this company in the first place. And now the roles that I'm working in, they are taking care of that. So yeah, I'm happy to be a part of the team. Yeah, that's basically it. Apart from that, I guess I should now open this for a Q&A, because I've been speaking for a long time and some of you might be ending up a bit bored. So yeah, let's open it for a Q&A, and after I receive your questions, I'll be able to better answer your queries.
Thank you, Satyam. That was quite an insightful session. Now, moving on to Q&A, we have got a couple of questions up here. So we'll begin with them. The first question is, what is a desirable depth of knowledge needed while brushing up old courses, probably like fluid mechanics and
Yeah, so as I mentioned during the last 30 minutes, that you won't be quizzed on any particular, like exactly numerical kind of things. So it will be mostly a conceptual based thing. So, for example, irrespective of the fact that you are from mechanical or chemical, you must have studied fluid mechanics. And Navier-Stokes equation forms a very central part of that subject. So one thing is just to memorize those equations, and the other thing is to actually know what all those variables, what all those derivatives stand for, and how it basically impacts the rheology of any particular fluid. So all those things, and like again, they won't give you the task of deriving or solving the Navier-Stokes equations, but they'll try to get a sense of, do you actually know that what this equation was designed to do, or you're just straight away like memorize the equation and just written the answers in your question papers and answer papers. So that's something that should give you a sense of what kinds of questions they might ask. So apart from that, like a couple of questions that I remember, so again, like this was 2 years back, so I'm not very keenly keenly cognizant of the details that I had to go through, but some questions were there on the instruments that chemical engineers use, right? So, for example, rotometers or orifice meter and venturi meters, so all these things. So, not just some things that might be taught to you, but some things that are expected of you that you know as a chemical engineer. So, again, I think that McCabe Smith is a very good and comprehensive book, and you might already have come across this in your 2 years of college. If not, then I would advise that you can go through this. Coulson and Richardson is also a very good book, but it has a lot of volumes, so that might be a hindrance for you given the short time span in which you're currently operating. So again, like the core concepts such as heat transfer, mass transfer, all those things, you can just brush up a bit. All the equations that are there and what all concepts are there. So yeah, as long as you have a firm understanding of the basics and the, I would not say basic. So, like, don't expect basic questions. Like, they'll not ask questions that any person from a chemical engineering background can answer. They'll ask questions that are expected from an IITian or a bit sane in your case. So, they'll ask questions of that sort, but you'll be able to answer those if you are thorough on your concepts and your understanding of the subject.
right. Coming up is the question regarding whether the mentioning skills such as Python or machine learning on your resume will have a negative impact in the interview process. Like since it's a core interview, so it might
Yeah, yeah, I
give a
understand. So there are two parts of this answer that I'll answer one after the other. So first of all is mentioning concepts such as languages such as Python or JavaScript and all those things detrimental to your candidature. Then the short answer is no, because obviously these are skills that are necessary and expected in people who are graduating in this time of the century, right? So all these things are emerging technologies, and if you are like ignorant about these things, then you're only hurting yourself. So it's good to have all these things in your knowledge arsenal, and writing these in your CV will not be detrimental to your candidature at all. In fact, based on the skills that you have and the background that you have, they might end up placing you in a particular internship if you're selected that will be suitable to your needs. So, for example, my particular set of skills might have made them realize that okay, this guy will be a good fit in the digital R&D team, and some other people who might have mentioned projects related to biology or biochemical engineering, they might have ended up in a role that was suitable for them, such as bacterial cultures in Lifebuoy, on all those things. So again, writing these does not make you a bad candidate. But then comes the second part that I was mentioning about, that if you are a person who till now has internships and experiences in the roles such as software development or machine learning or web development, all those things, and then you are applying for a company such as HUL, and all your prior experiences say that yes, you are preparing for a role that is related to SDE or data science, then they might ask you that why are you sitting for a R&D role, because it's not guaranteed that you'll end up being provided a project in data science or machine learning, right? So for all we know, most of us will end up in a role that is brand facing, that will be needing core chemical knowledge and chemistry knowledge. So that might have ending looking a bit bad on you, that you are sitting for this company just because of the fact that they're providing you 3 lakh rupees for your internship. So just because it's a good paying company does not mean that you necessarily need to sit for it. So just make sure that you yourself are clear on the fact that why are you sitting for this company. So as I said that I was very interested in working for a company which was impacting the lives of millions of people, and where I could be contributing towards a sustainable future. So if these are things that you're not passionate about and you're not willing to do as an intern or as an employee, then first of all, do not sit for the company straight away. If you have projects and passion for stuff such as machine learning or Python, then try for other companies which are hiring for those roles. You will be happier over there, and also you have a way better chance of scoring those internships or placements, right? So yeah, knowledge of these things is not bad. In fact, it is very beneficial and expected. But again, just make sure that you're the right person at the right job, and you're not basically appearing just for the sake of those 3 lakh rupees.
Okay, for the final question, so do they ask questions related to all the courses which one is expected to complete by the end of the third year, or do they ask questions only related to the courses which are mentioned on our resume?
So I think I answered this in the talk that I gave a few minutes back. So obviously you have only done half of your chemical engineering or mechanical engineering till now. And based on that, you won't be obviously able to answer everything that a chemical engineering BTech student is expected to know, right? So if they end up actually asking something that is not part of your curriculum, then you can at least try to communicate it to them that this has not been a part of our courses till now, and then they might end up asking something which you know. So, but again, like at the end of your second year, you must have some understanding of concepts such as heat transfer, mass transfer. I'm sure like introductory level courses must have been in place for you at BITS Pilani, right? So you must have gone through courses such as fluid mechanics, heat transfer one, mass transfer, and a bit of biochemical engineering, maybe, or any of these basic things. Fluid flow and mechanical operations. That is also one of the subjects that they might end up asking from. So yeah, again, like as I said, that just be open to them, and if they're asking something which is taught to you in your third or fourth year, then be open about it and say that okay, we haven't studied about it till now. If someone amongst you is like a very PELU student who can go through all of these concepts in the next couple of weeks and answer those questions, then good for you. You'll be having a better chance of being selected, of course. But as I said, it's not really expected from you.
Great. So with that, we will be ending this webinar. And thank you so much, Satyam, for taking out the time and just putting out the interview process for HUL. I am sure it will be helpful to a lot of students. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so if you want to, if like anyone else wants to reach out to me after this, you can do so on LinkedIn or Instagram anywhere. So LinkedIn, you can just search for Satyam Saxena and perhaps add HUL in the filters. You'll be able to find me. Instagram, it's Satyam Saxena 17. So any of these places you can reach out to me and I'll be happy to get in touch with you. Right. So yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a great day.
Thank you, Satya. We'll be ending the session now.
Okay. Thanks.